fashion lovers, welcome again to another interesting video tutorial. In case you're new here, my name is Gift, and if you're an old subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in today's video, I'll be showing us how to cut as well as how to sew this beautiful shawl collar dress that we have on the screen. And I hope you have subscribed. Also turn on your notification bell so you can always get notified. Here on the table I have my African print, popularly known as Ankara fabric, which is about 3 yards, and I have my lining fabric, I have my pattern master, I have a straight ruler, you need your tailor's chalk or whatever it is you need to mark, you need your scissors, you need your tape measure, and of course you need your basic measurements. Okay, so without wasting your time, let's dive into today's video. So here on the table I have my fabric folded into two. So for you to know the amount of fabric to put on fold, you want to divide your bust circumference divided by 4. Okay, to know the amount of fabric to put on fold, divide your bust circumference by 4. Okay, and then add about 10 inches to it, between 8 and 10 inches. Okay, so the bust circumference I'm working with is 41.5 inches divided by 4. I have 10.375, but I'm going to be approximating that to 10.5 inches. Okay, so by the time I get that, then I'll be adding 8 inches. Remember I said between 8 to 10 inches. Okay, now this depends on the size of the client you're working with. If you're working with a highly plus size client, I will advise that you divide your hip measurement instead of your bust measurement. So these are just the basic things you'll be needing: your gown length, your shoulder to waist, shoulder to nipple, shoulder to underbust, just the basic measurements. Okay, so now the gown length I'm working with is actually 40 inches. Okay, but I'll be adding extra 2 inches to that to give me 42 inches because I'll be turning that in. Okay, so here I'm ruling a straight line, which is going to serve as my starting point or a guide. Now you can make use of the selvage of your fabric. For me, I'm just ruling that. Then I'm going to impute my gown length. The gown length I'm working with is 42 inches. I've gone ahead to rule that out, and that is what we have there. Okay, cool. So remember I said this is on fold. I'll be cutting the back part first, then I'll be using the back part to cut out the front part. Okay, so the back part is what I placed on the other side, and I have about 3 inches there. So I put the front part on fold, leaving about 3 inches allowance at the center front and about 6 inches allowance at the upper part. Now the front part is longer than the back part by about 6 inches. This is because the dress has a shawl collar rather. So the 6 inches is going to serve or work for the shawl collar, and the 3 inches here is going to serve as a button allowance and the necessary allowance we need for this dress. Okay, I hope you understand. So measure that out before placing your back part, and then cut out whatever it is you've gotten. Okay, cool. So guys, I'm going to be working on the back part first. I'm just reiterating this so you can understand. Leave about 3 inches at the center front and 6 inches at the upper part for the front part now. Okay, before cutting out your front part. I hope this is understandable. Okay, I'll be using the back part to cut out the front part later on. So to this video, I'm working with a shoulder measurement of 16 inches divided by 2, and that is 8 inches. Okay, divide your shoulder measurement by 2 and impute what you have there. The shoulder slope I'm working with is 1 inch. Okay, so I've imputed my 1 inch shoulder slope. The neck width I'm working with is 3 inches, which is a basic neck width. The neck depth is 1 inch. Now remember, this is the back part, not the front. Okay, so I'm just going to be connecting that with a curve like so to give me my neck width and my neck depth. So that is going to serve as my neckline. Okay, cool. The next thing I'm going to do after connecting this is to go ahead and connect my shoulder slope. Remember, is 1 inch. I'll be connecting the shoulder slope with a straight line to my neck line like so. Okay, now the next thing I'll do is to come down by half of an inch. This half of an inch is the allowance for joining. okay? Remember, we are not drafting on the pattern, we are drafting on the fabric directly. So I'll just come down by half of an inch, which is the joining allowance, and then I'll connect it to my neckline like so. Good. Now, after I've imputed that, the next thing I want to impute is my chest line measurement. I already have a video where I showed us how to impute the chest line, but for the sake of the beginners here, your chest line is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So after getting that, I imputed that, and that was what I got. I got 8.5 inches. Okay, your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches will give you your chest line. Good. Now the next thing I'll do is to connect that line like so with a straight line to meet up with my shoulder slope. Good. You know the way we plot lines for us to have our arm side or our armhole, yeah. So I'm just connecting those lines together like so to give me a straight line. Good. Now, after getting that, the next measurement you want to impute is your shoulder to underbust. The shoulder to underbust I'm working with is shoulder to nipple point rather is 11 inches. Now take note of where I took that measurement from. I took the measurement from the second line at the top there. Okay, cool. Now for me to get my armhole depth or my armhole curve, I'm going to divide what I have on my chest line by 2. Now remember, we are plotting the back. Good. I'm going to be dividing that by 2. Okay, then I'm going to mark the point, that is the midpoint I got. And then on my chest line now, I'm going to be dividing my bust measurement divided by 4, okay? But because I want this to be a bit free, I'll be adding extra 1 inch to the bust circumference. So instead of 41.5 inches, I'll be dividing 42.5 inches. So I divided 42.5 inches into 2. I impute into 4 rather, and then I imputed that. Cool. Then I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches for stitching allowance. So, but before doing that, before connecting my armhole depth, remember I said is your bust divided by 4. Then I'm going to impute another 2 inches for sewing ease and sewing allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting that line to that midpoint we have there, and this is just how our back armhole depth is going to look like. Cool. So after imputing that, the next thing I'm going to impute is my shoulder to under bust measurements. Remember, take note of where I'm taking this measurement from. So the under bust measurement is 15 inches, okay? The next measurement I will impute is my shoulder to waistline or the front length, which is 17 inches. Then I will impute my shoulder to hip line, which is 8 inches from my waistline. Okay, that is 25 inches like so. Then I'm just going to connect those lines together with a straight line, okay, just so we can understand every bit of lines that we have on this fabric. Remember, we now have a lot of lines. So the first line is our chest line, the second one is the bust point, the next one is the under bust, the next one is the waist, and of course the last one is the hip line. Now from that picture, we have a princess seam line on that dress, and in order to get that, I'm going to be dividing my bust span or your nipple to nipple by 2. Okay, the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 8 divided by 2, that is 4, but I'm going to be adding half inch to that because I'm going to be joining this together later on. So instead of 4 inches, I imputed 4.5 inches all the way from my bust point down to my gown length, from the bust point now, not the chest line. Okay, so after I've imputed that, I'm going to be coming down from that point by 3.5 inches. That is from my shoulder line, I came down by 3.5 inches. And then I'm going to be connecting the straight line I had earlier on with a curve just to give me the princess seam line. Guys, it is not a bustier. It just have a princess seam line, okay? So the next thing I'll do is to extend the curve by 1 inch. Now the reason why I'm extending this line by 1 inch is so that by the time I join this together, I will not have a shortage. So I'll just connect the 1 inch extension to my bust measurements, which I have on my chest line already, guys. I hope this is simple and clear. So guys, this is basically the major aspect for this part, okay? Now what I'll do next is to impute whatever measurements I have on my chest line down to my bust line. I will just bring that measurement down with a straight line like so, okay? And then I'm going to be connecting my under bust line to my bust line with either a straight line or a slightly curved line, okay? So I just came down by the same measurement I have at the top there, and then I'll go ahead and connect it to a curve. Now after you have connected that with a curve, the next thing you will do is to connect whatever you have there with a straight line down to the end of the gown length, just to give you the flayed look, or the just to give you that flayed look that we have at the lower part. Now the lower part, I'm going up by 1 inch. Now this is to eliminate sharp points, okay? So I came up by 1 inch and then connected that with a curved line to meet up with the remaining part of the hemline, guys. So this is basically all for the back part. As you can see, I've gone ahead to cut that out, but I did not cut through my princess seam line, neither did I cut through my neckline, okay? So guys, we are done with the back part. Now we want to move to the front part, okay? Cool. Now this is the front part. Remember I said the upper part is 6 inches wide, the center front is about 3 inches wide. So I connected those lines together before imputing my bust divided by 4 or whatever that we had earlier. So I'm just repeating the same process we did for the back part. Impute your neckline, impute your shoulder line, impute your shoulder slope, impute your chest line, connect them together. Now divide what you have on your chest line into 2 and go in by 0.5 inch, okay? Now impute your bust divided by 4 plus 2 inches and then connect that together with your armhole curve. Now the only difference between the front and back is this armhole area, which I went in by 0.5 on the front part. Now guys, I'm going to be bringing in my back pattern and then align it with what I have on the front pattern, because I just need to trace out what I have on this back pattern directly on my front pattern so that we do not waste our time, okay? Make sure they align, making sure the center back is aligning with that straight line that you connected with the upper line on the center front. So guys, I've gone ahead to trace that out and this is what I have. So on my chest line, I'm just imputing what I have, my bust divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches. And here I also did my princess seam line. Guys, now on your armhole line, you want to extend the line by 1 inch, just the same way we did for the back. Extend it by 1 inch and then connect that with a curve to meet up with your bust measurement which you have on your chest line. Guys, if you don't do this, by the time you start joining your fabric, you'll have a shortage there, and you do not want to have a shortage. So we are done with the major part. Now let's construct our shawl collar. Now remember the neck width you're working with is 3 inches for the back and for the front, okay? So I have imputed that 3 inches neck width there. The first thing you want to determine is your break point. Now the dress has a very high collar. The collar is not low, so the break point I'm using is 8 inches. So and then you're going to determine your button allowance. My button allowance is 1.5 inches. So I just went ahead to impute 1.5 inches from the break point all the way down to the end of the gown length. So now that I've gotten the 1.5 inches, which is my button allowance, the next thing I'm going to do is to connect the break point to my neck width with a straight line like so, okay? Just watch what I'm doing. Connect it like so, okay? The next thing you do is to impute the neck width you have for the back. Remember the neck width we used for the back was 3 inches, okay? So impute that 3 inches on that part like so. Extend that line by that same 3 inches, okay? Extend it by 3 inches and add half inch to it for joining. The reason why you are adding the half inch to it is for joining, okay? So now that you have gotten that, the next thing you want to do is to determine how wide you want your collar to be. Okay, I want my collar to be 3 inches wide, so I'm going to impute the 3 inches and also impute another half inch for joining the collar. Okay, I will impute another half inch to that. Now take note of the way I'm connecting these lines. It's a diagonal line, it is not a straight line, please. This is how your ruler should look like. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to connect that with a smooth curve to meet up with that line I have on my break point. Okay guys, go in with your curved ruler and connect your collar. So guys, this is basically all for this part, and I decided to show us what I was cutting out. Okay, so here I have the back part and I have the front part. So this is what the front part looks like. I have two pieces of this, so I'm just going to be using this to cut out my lining fabric. So here on the table, I've gone ahead to cut out my main fabric and my lining fabric. I also attached my interfacing to both the lining fabric and the main fabric just for the center front. Now I decided to use the same fabric for my center front lining and main fabric. Yes, because by the time I turn this in, I do not want the lining to be showing, I want the main fabric to be showing. But guys, as I was cutting, I discovered it was not enough, so I just went ahead to join a doll face bridal satin to the lower part of this fabric. Okay, so I came down from the break points by about 1 inch before attaching the doll face bridal satin. Now if you're managing your fabric, you can use this method, and if you want to use a plain fabric, please also go ahead and do so. Okay, so I also cut out two pieces for my main fabric and also two pieces for the lining fabric for the side front. Now guys, on the hemline of the lining, I'll be taking away 2 inches. Now this is because I want my lining fabric to be 2 inches shorter than my main fabric, such that by the time I'm done joining this fabric, the main fabric will also be showing when I turn it up. Okay, so this is basically all for the front part. I'm also going to be reducing the center front lining part by 2 inches as well. Okay, so when I'm done with this, I went ahead to cut out my back part. As you can see, the back part is cut on fold for both the lining and the main fabric. Okay, I'm also going to be reducing the lower part of the back lining by 2 inches, just the same way I did for the front part, guys. So now we're done with that. The next thing I'm going to be showing us is how to join. Now to join these patterns or these fabrics together, you're going to take your center back like so, and then go ahead and attach the side backs to them like so, making sure the right side is facing right side. Make sure you are picking the right fabric. Okay, go ahead and join them together by 1/2 inch. Okay guys, you're also going to repeat the same process for your lining fabric. Okay, now for the center front, for the front pattern, you're going to pick your front pattern and also attach the side front to the center front like so. While on the shoulder line, you're also going to join them together by 1/2 inch. Repeat the same process too for your lining fabric. So guys, I'm done joining the side front to the center front, and this is what I have for the main fabric. As you can see, I'm going to give this a very good notch and then press open the seam lines. I also repeated the same thing for the back as well as the lining part. Now for the center front, pick the two center fronts and join them together on the neckline by 1/2 inch. Okay, you're also going to repeat this same process for your lining fabric. So guys, I'm done joining. I also went ahead to open up the seam lines by pressing them open. Okay, so that's tautology. Pick up your lining fabric and also repeat the same thing. Now take your back pattern, that is the back fabric now that you've joined together, put it together and notch the center. Okay, now take the center back. I also went ahead to show you that I've opened up the seam line. Guys, you need to press. It will help you a lot. So pick up the center back which you just notched and align it with your center front. Now, by the time you are done joining, you're going to have this shape, okay? This square looking shape. So pick up your center back and align it with the center neckline which you just joined for the front. Okay, align it together like so and pin it down. Guys, you need to pin down. You don't want to make mistakes. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pin that down like so. Pin it all the way down from one part to the other and just keep aligning them like so. Make sure you pin along the way. So you're going to go to the sewing machine and join them together with 1/2 inch. Guys, when doing this part, you need to be very careful and you need to take your time. You don't have to rush it. Okay, so go ahead and join them together like so with 1/2 inch. You're also going to repeat the same process for the lining fabric. Okay, cool. So when you're done joining, this is what I have by the time I was done joining. So guys, this is what we have. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and pick up the sides of the main fabric. Okay, pick the sides of the main fabric like so and join them together by whatever seam allowance you've added. I just join them together by 0.75. I did the same thing for the lining fabric, and then guys, I lost the clip, but I'm just going to be explaining what I did here. So pick up the two lining fabrics and the lining fabric and join it together with the main fabric, right side facing right side now, and then stitch it all the way round with 1/2 inch, all the way round with 1/2 inch. So guys, when I was done, I decided to show us what the sleeve looks like. I have a video on how to draft a basic sleeve, so I'll be leaving the link in the description box. So here is what the sleeve looks like. Now from the main photo or the main picture, the sleeve is a bit different from what I'm doing, but I'm just going to be explaining for those of us that want to make use of that particular sleeve. Okay, so for those of us that want to use the sleeve in the picture, you want to go ahead and impute what you have on your bicep measurements on the elbow line like so. Okay, impute what you have at the upper part to the lower part, and then attach an elastic, turn it up, and then attach an elastic band on the lower part. Okay, by the time you attach the elastic band, you're going to have some kind of gathering at the lower part, and that is just all. But for me, I'm going to be adding an extra fabric to the lower part, which is about 6 inches wide and about 32 inches long. So I'm just going to be gathering that fabric to the lower part of my sleeve like so. I also went ahead to cut out my belt pattern. So guys, that is just all for this video. Okay, so now that I've turned this out, as you can see, I went ahead to attach my sleeves like so. Can you see? So this is a sleeve, and I'm going to be going to the serging machine. I'll serge that part so that it can just look very neat, guys. So by the time I'm done serging, this is what the inner part looks like. This is the front part of the dress. Can you see it is neatly finished? Okay, so now for you to add your button, guys, your button is going to start from that point. That is your break point. The first button will be there, and then you're going to mark about 5 inches from that first point. Mark another 5 inches down, and then attach your second button. Mark another 5 inches down and attach your third button. So the distance between one button to the other is about 5 inches. Okay, so guys, that is just all for this dress, and as you can see, this is how the inner part looks like. This is how the button area looks like. So I'm just going to be showing you this on my dress form, of my mannequin. So guys, can you see how beautiful this turned out? The color especially, this is so beautiful. Here is the button and here is the belt. Can you see how beautiful this is? So guys, if this video has been helpful, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, turn on your notification, guys, so you can always get notified when we post a new video. I really enjoyed creating this video with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Can you see how neatly finished the lower part looks? And this is just the final outcome of this beautiful dress that we created. I hope you'll be recreating this, guys. So guys, that is just all. So I also decided to show you how it looks like without the belt. So I decided to try it on without the belt, and this is what it looks like. This is looking like a kimono jacket, but it's beautiful. So guys, till I see you in my next video, I'm Giz. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.